What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Thursday edition of Crypto Connoisseurs. I am Kyle, and I have got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking all about metaverses, NFTs, and gaming, all in crypto and blockchain. And we have an all-star lineup here for you guys tonight, the industry's finest, to tell you all about these things. And I'm learning here with you guys at the same time, because a lot of this is also new to me as well. For the gaming aspect, we're going to go into the metaverse and take a deep dive down the rabbit hole and just understand what is possible in a metaverse. I mean, we've all seen Ready Player One, and I think we're headed there, but we'll find out just how long until we get there versus more of a 2D kind of Zelda-looking game. So this week we got Michael from Star Atlas, we've got Philip from Crypto Blades, and we got Hashoshi from Hashoshi. Okay, so guys, you will never see me talking about technical analysis, right? Because I'm more of a macro kind of guy. If I am doing anything, I'm looking at trends. But I want to remind you guys that every time I have an opportunity to just zoom out for a second, look where we're going, and realize that we are no longer in the early adopters phase. We're in the early majority. There's a massive amount of adoption happening in crypto exponentially, like so much more than back in the early days. Right? I mean, I think something like 4% of the world now has cryptocurrency. This is insane. So we have things like Gary Gensler from the SEC, admitting that cryptocurrency, is actually Satoshi's invention. Bitcoin is real and could be used as money, admitting it. Gary was at MIT. We have, guys like Michael Saylor, who just bought another $177 million in Bitcoin. I mean, this man has conviction, right? And everybody's watching Michael. He's now an executive institutional celebrity. And if any other executive or board of directors listen to Michael Saylor all I do is listen for 1 hour, or 45 minutes, one podcast. And you cannot dispute the kind of things that this man says. He comes with logic that is undeniable. And if you are an intelligent person watching Michael Saylor and you're wondering what to do with your cash reserves, he's got to make some sense to you. And you better be damn sure that he's not the only person swooping up as much Bitcoin as possible, as quickly as possible. It is massive. We have things like Visa buying a CryptoPunk, and which is I personally thought it was a little disappointing. They went for the floor price, right? And come on, your Visa, don't you think you could have bought a little bit over the floor price? I mean, that was a little weird. But we got things like, okay. Also, in the spirit of gaming, guys, on this episode, I'm going to flash an Easter egg somewhere in this video. First person to comment on what that Easter egg is will get a public sale allocation to Paid Ignition's next IDO. And also to remind you guys as well, you guys submitted some cool names. I didn't see anything that I fell in love with. Close. I think we're getting there. I still have that cicada. I want to give away the NFT. And so keep going. Just give me something that I see that I love, because I'm really big on names. And so looking for a new show name. And we have things like, just and the NFT space is insane, right? We have Ether Rock selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it made me think about one other thing that I heard before, right? So in China, you've got capital controls, where you can only remove in China, I think $50,000 a year before you have to answer a million questions of why you want to take more money out. More than often, you cannot. So we have these capital controls in different countries because they do not want you taking your money out of the country and putting it somewhere else. So I heard the story about how a lot of very wealthy people in China will go buy an emerald or something at Sotheby's that's worth $10-20 million, and they'll ship it over to a museum in let's say London or something, and then they'll sell it over there in order to get their capital out of the country. But now You can just go buy a rock. You know, you can go buy a CryptoPunk and digitally send it anywhere. You don't even have to worry about insurance and shipping through FedEx or insure. You know, it is, when you look at the OG NFTs, the ones like the CryptoPunks and the Ether Rocks, like these things already have an established price floor. We already know that they're OG. We already know that they're going to be legacy. So it does work well as a store of value, in my opinion. And that's another thing to kind of take into consideration. And guys, another thing as well, we have the crypto cases. We had a little bit of market correction, so we just dropped below that 1 million. But I am sure that I'm sure that this is going to. I mean, we are just with all this macro adoption news. I am positive that we are going into another big cycle. There's so much adoption happening. Look at the Coinbase report. It's insane. The amount of daily signups. I am getting messages left, right, from family members, from friends, every single day, telling me now they're a proud owner of Bitcoin. Now they bought an NFT. Now they every day I'm getting messages. It's insane the amount of adoption that's happening. There's no way, in my opinion, that we're going down. I would love to see this go to $20-30 million. And again, 25% of that is going to go to charity. Going to do some really great things with it. Some projects here have like Crypto Blades on here. We got Star Atlas on here. We got Yield Guild games on here. Like Anarchy X, a lot of games. We're going to get some more on there. Projects are eager to support the cause, as this is going to great charity. We're going to go put devices in the hands of families that need it, families that need to play to earn and change their lives. So really, really excited, guys. Let's go ahead and bring on the guests. We will bring on Hashoshi. What's up, man?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. Michael Wagner, how's it going, brother?
Hey, Kyle. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. And we got Philip from Crypto Blades. Philip, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, good. Hey, everybody.
So, guys, let's just start off with just kind of, I'm just curious what I know you're all working on your things, but you know, what are you really excited about right now? You know, because it changes from day to day, week to week, right?
I can jump in here. I can tell you we're
do it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're super excited. We just launched version 3 of our website, which is a really immersive experience, bringing people kind of into the metaverse. And I think that's relevant today, just given that we're talking about gaming and talking about metaverse. So check out staratlas.com. And we also pushed out our cinematic teaser trailer yesterday, which is really just the part 1. But if you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. We're getting really positive reviews on it, just giving people a glimpse of what the future inside Star Atlas will look like. So that's what I'm really excited about right now. We're also, jamming out on our TGE and our mini game launch and our Galactic Asset offering soon. So I don't have too much insight on external markets right now because we've been really heads down, flat out building. But yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting stuff for all of us here.
Laser eyes, baby, focused like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for me,
go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Philip. I mean, at a high level right now, just really excited about the, sort of what I see as the beginnings of mass adoption. Kyle, like you mentioned earlier on, right? We're kind of moving into that sort of early majority phase where this is no longer this brand new thing that no one's heard about and it's like nerds only. I think gaming and NFTs are a big reason for that, right? Yeah. Because it's something that people can understand. And if you look at the billions of dollars that are being spent on, Fortnite skins and other in-game items on mobile and desktop and console, moving in the direction of letting people truly own something for that money and move it across a metaverse and really carry it forward as an investment, play to earn, like this is a really exciting time to be in the space.
Yeah, totally. And just to kind of add on to that too, I think the biggest things that I see moving this industry as a whole are the accessibility that is now available through widespread release of Web3 and all the different tools that are being developed now for people to be able to connect from their phone, be able to connect from their web browser to their crypto wallets. And this is something that's kind of been in the making for a while, but I think is still underestimated as far as what that allows not only gaming, but just crypto in general to be able to accomplish for people. I mean, like I can remember the very first time I connected to like a decentralized exchange with like a MetaMask wallet. And I was like, really confused at first, but once I got over that hump, I was able to, like understand, like, wow, I'm able to now interact with this even easier than having a credit card in my hand. Because I'm like literally, I don't even have to type in numbers or anything, right? Everything is just so simple to be able to utilize your crypto and now utilize your NFTs as well. To the point where, we still have people talking about NFTs, like what are NFTs? People think, like people think NFTs right now are synonymous with like digital art, for example. Like that is still a major problem. They're not seeing that it's just the ownership aspect of it, and it's the standardization, which is another huge thing, because that's what enables all of our projects to be used like within each other, really. And that's what the metaverse is. It's just this amalgamation of standardized assets that can be utilized not only in games but really anywhere.
I think that's well said, guys. I will extend on my comment and just add that I do think that crypto gaming, blockchain gaming, GameFi, whatever you want to call it, will be a major catalyst for the adoption of users into crypto going into the future. And I think, the economic models that we're introducing and creating behind our platforms are going to lead to a high degree of robustness in the in the stability of the underlying like platform tokens, right? I don't think we'll be so exposed to the major macroeconomic kind of events and volatility that exists in a lot of other more speculative assets, because there's a fundamental intrinsic value to what we're building, and that is, at the end of the day, you should be getting entertainment value, right? You should be able to enjoy your experience. You should be able to go socialize, and also, the intrinsic value is driven somewhat by the play to earn model. Your ability to go into this environment and earn some form of income. And that's going to be incredibly powerful for people all over the world. And also, it will retain their attention. It will keep them attached to it and not so focused on, am I going to 10X, right? It's I want to participate in this. I need these assets. And so therefore I'm going to own them and utilize them.
Mm-hmm. I will make a comment about the usability of these of some of these things. One of my trusted friends in the space sent me a link yesterday. It was to AVAX Punks, right? So like the CryptoPunks knockoff on Avalanche. And I'm totally new to buying NFTs. I got like 3 before, but then I went and I was like, this is definitely going to be popular. So I tell you that my first experience with Avalanche, and it was a long way away from being an easy experience for your average person to like I had transactions getting stuck that I had to go like push through manually in some advanced settings, and but I did it, and now so that was interesting. Speaking of protocols, though, this is kind of what I want to segue into, because there's a huge narrative right now. I mean, for the longest time, the only thing that you could do smart contracts on was Ethereum, right? So, and then you have BSC, but that's not really innovative, right? There's no new consensus mechanism, or it's not really something that we really take seriously. I would like to know, Michael and Philip, like, how did you guys, what protocols did you look at, and how did you ultimately choose to use what you are using? So Michael, Swana, and Philip, I don't know, what are you going to be using for Crypto Blades Kingdom?
Sure. So when we first started Crypto Blades and towards the beginning of this year, one of the reasons that we went with, for example, just Binance Smart Chain was they had a lot of incentivized programs for bringing in NFT projects. And since we knew at the time, we weren't exactly sure what Crypto Blades would kind of end up being, but we knew, well, hey, if we can build somewhere where we're going to have support, from an infrastructure standpoint, support from a financial standpoint to kind of make this happen, because it's all very experimental. There's a lot of learning as we go, and so they were kind of one of the first, I think, to put together, they put together this $100 million accelerator fund. And so like, okay, great. You see dollars and you think, well, that can't hurt. Right. So, so we ended up building there, and, there's definitely challenges associated with it. For one, with, many people who just never really want to touch Binance Smart Chain, which I get that's fine. But on top of that, now that we're looking at, some of the different challenges, like even, for example, as BNB rises, gas prices rise, it's now no longer like the cheapest and fastest. There's way more options out there. So now we're definitely looking into just not necessarily calling any one chain home. And I think, that's probably going to be the case moving forward, where just like the internet is kind of one big network now, I see something very similar happening in the future with chains, with smart chains, and being able to kind of just have different versions, different flavors of your project on different chains that can suit the needs of those individual communities who each have their own kind of individual needs and values, and being able to even have kind of somewhat different versions of, for example, crypto blades on each of those chains, even though they may be also interoperable.
So, Michael, did you? Yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100%. Michael, did you tell us, man? Were you building on Solana before SBF decided to back you guys, or was that part of the deal?
We were before. Yeah, I mean that kind of came along with the deal. We started conceptualizing Star Atlas in mid 2020, and just laying the framework, the groundwork, and the pre-production planning for what we thought that Star Atlas could become. And a major component of that was determining which layer 1 protocol that we want to build on. And we conducted extensive due diligence. There's a lot of third generation blockchains that are out now that have a solid degree of scalability and high transaction throughput and low costs and things of that nature. But a number of factors went into us deciding to launch on Solana. And first and foremost was really just, was the tech capable of scaling to hundreds of millions to even potentially billions of users? And I know that's a very big statement, but and I think, Kyle, you and I talked about this on the last show, but the way that this technology and this new sector in crypto is going to be able to empower people, particularly in developing nations all around the world, we really do see the global population as our potential demographic, right? And again, once again, that could scale to billions of people. Now, is the tech there now? Probably not, right? But we think that Solana has the best chance of accomplishing that over time. So the network's highly scalable, high transaction throughput, low cost. And one of the other really important variables for us was that it's sub-second finality on state changes. And what that translates to for the gamer is just latency or lag, right? And so like all of us that are gamers, we know we don't want to be exposed to lag. And when you think about deploying all of the game logic on chain, every time a player even moves through space, for example, that's an update, right? That's a state change that needs to be recorded.
Wow.
And so we wanted an enjoyable, seamless playing experience, especially since we're building in Unreal Engine 5. We're building to AAA quality standards, and so we have this beautiful cinematic quality experience. And it was super important that we weren't bottlenecked on the underlying platform or protocol that we selected. So. But beyond that, the team is great over there. They were willing to offer a lot of support for us because we were early. We kind of finalized things with them in August or September of last year. And I might be misquoting this, but they had maybe 20 to 25 projects on the platform at the time. And now they're well over 500, right? So we kind of projected that, especially with the backing of SBF, but just the platform itself had a lot of potential to attract developers to it and develop out a very robust ecosystem. And we wanted to be early to that. There's something to be said for kind of joining a bigger protocol that has a massive user base, but we felt that the opportunity was in joining something early where we could get more extensive support, and we didn't just become another project mixed in with all the other, thousands of projects that exist. And then, of course, you mentioned FTX, SBF thing, Alameda Research. They were big supporters for us right away. And where that really adds value is within Star Atlas, there is, we're not only using NFTs for true asset ownership, we have our 2 crypto native tokens, we have our governance protocol, the Star Atlas DAO, managed by Polis, but we're also implementing DeFi features throughout the game so that players can actually leverage excess income, deploy that to things like liquidity pools and AMMs and lending farms and yield farming, and generate compound interest on their earnings. And so because we had such an interest in utilizing all these DeFi features, we wanted a robust, decentralized exchange protocol, and that was already in place with Serum DEX.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hashoshi, how do you feel, man? I'm really, since I don't think that you're building any games, I'm not building any games, but I am helping launching games. But how do you feel about the protocol trend? It's kind of new, right? I mean, it's definitely new. So just tell me about it. And which ones are you super bullish on? And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at all of the, like the crew of 2017 projects who came out with a white paper, came out with concepts, are now here, today, delivering on a lot of those things and in varying degrees of sort of mainnet functionality delivered. And I think what's interesting now is that creates this new environment for gaming projects and DeFi projects and amalgamations of both to find homes in different places and choose different, and the reasons will be based on what they need, right? So Michael's talking about fast finality and this scalability. Philip is talking about sort of this place where they can rapidly innovate, they can get funded and really deliver, and then see as interoperability takes hold where that game expands to. Philosophically, I think the future is interoperability. The future is multi-chain. There's not going to be one single protocol where everybody goes. And despite the, sort of tribalism and maximalism, I think eventually a lot of these communities are going to be atomically exchanging assets and interacting with each other across networks. Solana, Ethereum, Cardano, Phantom, Avalanche, the big ones, right? I think we'll...
Right. Right, and kind of just to add on that real quick, I think for the end user, the goal should be that they maybe aren't even aware of what chain they're connected to or what a smart chain even is. Like, you don't have to understand how the internet works to do a video chat like we're doing right now, right? Really, obviously, we're all very invested in blockchain and all have, very specific experience and maybe development experience. But it's a whole nother world for the end user, for the people that we're actually targeting. For gaming, they just want to play a game, and maybe they want to make money, and maybe they're interested in learning about crypto, or maybe they're interested in maximizing their crypto earnings. There's so many things other than the technical details, which obviously we live in and we live and breathe in order to make these things happen. But kind of looking at it from the perspective of the end user, what Michael talked about having, 1 billion plus users, that's definitely how you're going to achieve it, just by, putting a device in their hands and with one button click, having them be connected and playing, just like on your smartphone, right? Where you just open up your app and you're there. So I think that's kind of probably where I see that's my end goal, at least, of how do we get there to where users are just able to connect just like they do the internet.
Yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen, right? I always say everything has to be grandma friendly. We cannot feel like they're using crypto. I still think that we're a long ways out before that happens. Very much so. But I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm very confident that we'll get there. Guys, I just want to say, I don't know, the comments are going absolutely crazy over here. Phil, I think you got a lot of people that love your game, man, because everyone just like talk about crypto blades over here. We have by far the most live viewers that I've ever had on the live stream. So you guys are all stars. And guys, if you guys love our guests that we have on tonight, make sure you smash that likes and subscribe, because we got a lot more coming to you guys. I really enjoy having you guys here. This is fascinating to me. And what is really fascinating, what I've been digging into a lot lately, is this whole idea of metaverse. And it seems to be just as big as a topic of anything else. And so it's not just where does, we're really kind of trying to pull out of this kind of 2D environment into kind of much more interactive, in-game or in-world experience, and maybe I think a good place to start would be, Philip, so you, from what I understand, right, you're kind of making another game, an evolution, if I'm not mistaken, of Crypto Blades Kingdoms, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then how the metaverse aspect is going to work.
Yeah, sure. So with Crypto Blades, kind of starting from the beginning real quick, is it's more of, I would say, a DeFi centric type crypto game where the gamified aspect is in the crafting of your NFTs, leveling up of your characters, and it's kind of like a point and click kind of role playing game. With Crypto Blades Kingdoms, we're kind of flipping that on its head. Instead of having this focus on the DeFi aspect, we're going all in on the gaming aspect to create this AAA quality kingdom building game with a much more immersive experience, beautiful 3D graphics, lots of multiplayer features like guilds and things like that for players to be able to create communities within the game. While also kind of staying within that theme of this whole overall fantasy overarching theme. And the biggest goal, I would say, is enabling this interoperability between our existing Crypto Blades game and Crypto Blades Kingdoms, where you can utilize all the NFTs that we're currently dishing out to our players, and they would be able to use those in Crypto Blades Kingdoms. And on top of that, because of all of them being part of this ERC 721 standard, really any game who wants to incorporate their NFTs in one way or another, we'll be able to assist them and bringing them in, and we can have all kinds of different fun ways of kind of having crossovers between maybe different worlds or crossovers between different themes too. So I would say our primary goal there is still going to be that whole play to earn mechanism, just like with Crypto Blades, but definitely more featuring that just fun and enticing gameplay aspect, like people play with Clash of Clans, for example, where it's a similar kind of feel. So that's kind of what we're going for there.
Cool. Hashoshi, what from someone who analyzes the market, and I guess a dev as well, right? You do some development stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're looking for right now as far as the gaming aspect? Because we have different things, land sales, metaverses. You've got things like interoperable NFT plays. You've got people who are making things that you can upload from a 3D object, make it an NFT, pop it in a metaverse. Like, there's a lot going on within this whole sector, right? So, like, what are some of the things that you're looking at, and how do you choose kind of where to place your bets?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an intersection of a lot of those things. You look at like true metaverse projects. Here's some examples like Sandbox, Decentraland. Networks, and a relatively up and coming one. There's so many examples of them, and again, those are probably going to interoperate to an extent where you're going to be able to traverse many different digital worlds and that have different benefits and different experiences. But I think that if you look at the component parts of that, things like composable NFTs, so NFTs that can be a container for fungible tokens or a container for other NFTs to build these sort of hierarchical items in games, for example, I think is going to be really important. And there are multiple examples of that. One example is charged particles, for example, a project sort of building a protocol for that. Beyond that, you look at this, the example you made, Kyle, about stereoscopic sort of 3D assets that you can bring into digital worlds. Like, I think art is going to really be a big part of that. I feel like artists, digital creators, content creators, the influencers, as much as people don't like that term, and I don't either, but I think that this is going to be just a whole new platform for people to build a brand and to build a market and to recreate that sort of brick and mortar feel where you can be around other people and you can interact with people directly, all in a digital world, breaking down the borders of content creation and commerce. I think really that's what's most exciting. So at various different verticals in that space, you think about what can culminate in that future that's maybe not as dystopian as Ready Player One, but maybe similar in nature.
Gotcha. All right. So I've got a question about scalability, but first, if you guys haven't seen it yet, Michael, here's your big debut.
Legend has it that somewhere on the other side of space is a diamond the size of a planet. everyone is out to find it. So I guess it all comes down to one thing. Who'll find it first?
For doing that, Kyle.
Awesome.
I get the chills every time. I've seen the video at least 300 times, and I get the chills every time. I love it, man. Thank you. Before we jump into the next topic, I just want to kind of piggyback off of what Hashoshi was saying, and yeah, I think he got that really exactly right, because the future of the metaverse is also, in my mind, the future of the web. And as we move more into decentralized protocols, decentralized web, decentralized money, everything, these are going to directly feed into the opportunities that people have present to them. And so when you discuss the metaverse, it's not a video game, right? Like, even though that might be a component of it, it's not just a virtual world. It's not just a social experience. It's not just an economy. It's actually all of these things, governance as well, right? It's all of these things in aggregate that actually lead to new opportunities for players. And so, over time, creating this tool set that people can leverage to create businesses, be innovators, and be entrepreneurs, and create value for themselves actually is very synergistic with the development of the environment in the first place, right? Because if we're creating opportunities for people to create value, that just gets contributed back to what the metaverse is. And then the value overall, collectively, just gets substantially larger. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, Hashoshi, I think you said it just right, but we'll completely disrupt e-commerce, we'll disrupt traditional shopping experiences online, and change the way that people interact with each other and interact with the job market at large.
So every time I watch a video like that, or I'm being walked through a pitch of a metaverse or something, or someone's jumping from this world to that world, or going from this realm to that realm, is it infinitely scalable, or how are there things that set parameters within these things? And like, can you talk a little bit about the size of a metaverse? Because I'm trying to
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it is all experimental. And I don't know, I think Philip mentioned that, or Hashoshi mentioned that, but it is all experimental. I think we have to start small and we have to iterate. It will be an evolutionary process. Like, just speaking about Star Atlas specifically, we have autonomy and control over what the world looks like and how people interact with it initially, right? Because we have the vision for the product. We understand what we want to build, and we understand, what we think will attract people to our metaverse going into the future. But over time, that does need to change. So it moves away from kind of the central banking, treasury management, and monopoly over the game into player interacted and player governance or user governance on the system that would lead to things like changes in economics, that would lead to changes in asset release schedules or even feature requests. And then ultimately it falls into the space where everybody around the world can contribute. And I think once you reach that point, that's when it becomes exponential. So initially it's going to be small, right? But you get to that tipping point where critical mass is reached, everybody wants to contribute, and then all of a sudden you have all of this innovation that is just like blowing up everywhere in every direction. And it's the Big Bang, but it's in a virtual world.
And I just want everyone watching this to realize that you have some of the most modern innovators and frontiers in a whole new world that we're looking at right now. These are real people building the things that 5 years ago, 10 years ago we dreamed about. And it's actually tangible today, a little bit tangible today. I know, Michael, you said that it's at least 6 to 10 years, I guess, away before Star Atlas becomes like what we just saw in that trailer, and you could just go to town, right? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, we'll have game features earlier than that available that people can experience. What I would say, is we don't, at least I personally don't put a hard date on, or even kind of accept the premise that Star Atlas will ever be complete as a game. Because once again, it will be complete from a game feature set at some point, but once again, evolving into that metaverse concept, this is a product that should continue to change over time based on people's contributions. And so, to that end, it could live on in perpetuity. It could live on for thousands of years. It could be the de facto virtual world and experience that people interact with. And I'm not even saying from a, like market share, we hold all of the metaverse, but rather metaverses or multiverses will be kind of, you'll be able to interact with all of them cohesively, similar to what we're seeing in the themes of interoperability. It'll be interoperable metaverses as well. And your experience will just change based on which one you enter, but it feels like a single unified field.
That was my next kind of question or thought was like, would CryptoBlade's Kingdom be able to interact or interoperate in one way with like Star Atlas, for example? I mean, have you guys?
I think that's the whole idea. Yeah, for sure. And the nice thing is I can say that without ever having spoken to Michael about it, because I know, that's why we're building these games on these standards is because anyone who wants to integrate can do so. And I think there's obviously kind of some level of gatekeeping that's going to be needed in order to just keep things, having either certain themes or not having people just kind of wreak havoc. But at the same time, that's the beauty of standardization, is we can do that.
Amazing. Guys, I just want to remind everybody who's watching, anyone who's watching, commenting, make sure that you're subscribed so you're eligible to take part in this giveaway. And I just want to say thank you to all the projects who did contribute to this. This is enormous, and this is just getting started. As I like to do usually on each show, I like to actually thank one of the projects that has contributed. And tonight on the show, we have Pushkar from Pandora. Welcome. I know that a lot of people have been waiting for you guys' release, what you're building. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit quickly what you're doing and why it's different, because when I first heard it, I was very interested in it.
So yeah, hi Kyle, thank you for inviting me on the show. And I was listening to you talk, man. But you guys are amazing. I appreciate the work you are doing, Philip and Michael and Hashoshi. So about Pandora, Kyle, I would love to say in a very easy words, try to imagine it in a way, you are already talking about the metaverse here, but it is somewhere a bridge between the real world asset classes that we hold and the metaverse is in another way. For example, imagine that you have a crypto wallet, right? And that crypto wallet, the painting behind the Michael that is hanging, right? You can just have everything into that particular one single crypto wallet. Everything what you have in real life you own, right? You can just sell them any good day. You fly wherever you want, and it's all with the liquidity induced into it. So in a nutshell, we are trying to induce, liquidity in all the illiquid real world asset classes in a nutshell. Yeah, and try to bring it on chain so that we can lend, leverage, we can use all the power of DeFi of, bringing the positive yield to this particular industry. And this is what we are up to. So imagine the size of this thing. It's more than $300 trillion of, illiquid asset classes we are surrounded by these days. And isn't that beautiful?
Thank you, Michael, Hashoshi, Philip. You guys have any questions, regarding that, like how it works or anything?
I mean, sorry, Michael. I was just gonna say, I think it's really it's ambitious, definitely, to go and bridge real world assets and create markets around that. I think one of the most challenging problems in this space is how you effectively bridge the physical and digital worlds. And so, really, it's more of words of encouragement. Like, I would love to see this happen, and I wish you all the best of luck. It's really cool.
Thank you, Hashoshi. So.
Yeah, I completely agree, though, and I think that for anyone else out there that's maybe looking for an idea, I even think something like leveraging, whether it be NFTs or just DLT or blockchain, for things like real estate, for transfer of title between property, it's a perfect mechanism for it. It's far more transparent. It's frictionless, and it replaces these archaic systems that exist today that are just so inefficient. So, but yeah, absolutely, bridging the physical and digital for us, even in the Star Atlas vision, is super, super important because, Hashoshi, you mentioned the dystopian vision, like dystopian future of Ready Player One, and I don't think any of us want that, right? We don't want this terrible world that we all live in and we have to escape to the metaverse. You want that to be an extension of your life and a positive experience. But I think it's super important and definitely has a lot of value in being able to tie hard assets with intrinsic value to the digital space.
Yeah. All right, Pushkar, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck. I'm glad to see you guys are going to town, bringing a product to market, and appreciate it again. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Just open up.
Bye. And guys, just to be clear, there's actually a description and a comments. No, not a description. In the description below, there's some rules. It's kind of things, a Gleam campaign as well for the giveaway. It's not just for one person. It'll be breaking it up to probably 10 or so different people, plus 20, like I said, 25% of that is going to charity. We will also be making some polls to see what kind of charities you guys want to contribute it to, make it really interactive. Very, very, very excited. Okay, let's move on to let's say I think Hashoshi, you've been pretty vocal about Illuvium. Yeah, but what is it that about that game that really captivated you so much?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it takes some of this, like the fantasy elements that are already very well adopted in games like AXIE, right, where it's very much a fanatical, fanciful type of game. You've got a battling element, PvP element, solid graphics built around that. And of course, Illuvium is only one example of games like that in this space that are working to build something really cool. I think to me, it's just looking for different games that are capturing a group of users that are going to use the game and play it day one. That's important. You've got to have that built around it, and have solid foundations around governance and a plan to make the game really engaging. And so, yeah, just one example of games that I think are pretty cool. I would say, though, that some of the most exciting stuff is even underneath that layer of specificity and looking at tooling that's used across these different games. The platforms, the layer ones, and the even to an extent, gaming engines that people maybe have not even ever thought about and now are sort of getting their day as like a talking point. Like, we're making a blockchain game that's not 8-bit, or that's not a Flash style game that you would have played. So it's not Oregon Trails. It's like a really cool AAA style game. So I think that's really what I look at and what I look for. And I'm one guy, so I can only find so many of these things with the time that I have to search. But yeah, a really exciting time for games.
Phil, having already launched a really successful blockchain game with a play to earn model in it, have you learned a lot from the in-game economics? And how important do you feel that is to the success of a game? Because before it was really just about how much fun people have on it, right? But we know from something like AXIE that really the economics are massively important to the success of the game. So just wondering what your experience is like, and if you would do it differently or what you've learned.
Yeah. Our case is really interesting because so we launched Crypto Blades at the end of May of this year, and our intent was basically to kind of have it be like our minimum viable product. So kind of have all the elements of being able to craft NFTs. The play to earn model was released on day one. We had like a roadmap of when we wanted to release certain things, and honestly, it ended up just really being dictated kind of by the needs of the players. So, like, for example, we had an NFT marketplace on our roadmap for like the end of June, for example. So a month after release that we were going to be releasing that marketplace. And before we knew it, like the community necessitated something needed to happen faster because people had all these NFTs, and now they're trading them on BSC scan, or Etherscan, the equivalent of Etherscan, and there's like sending, NFTs to each other through this clunky interface, and we're like, oh my gosh, like people are getting like scammed or things like that, or not, or unsure what to do, and we're like, we got to just get this NFT marketplace out there quick, and so we ended up building it in like 10 days and put it out there, and people started using it. But that's just kind of like one example of how when you put something out there like this, you need more than just a core, one team or a core team. And so one of the keys to how we've been able to maintain that kind of level of development pace is through open sourcing literally everything. So, and there's two benefits to that. One is that we have like over 50 open source contributors who are now contributing everything from art to programming to design. And on top of that, it just helps with that transparency too, because people can see not only what we've done, but they can even look at our issue tracker and see what we're doing and give suggestions. And it definitely involves the community in a lot of aspects. One of the things that I would do differently for sure is probably find a way to maybe slow the pace of our, and this is crazy to say, but slow the pace of our user growth. So, because as more users come in, now you have a lot more requirements on you, and that's something where, like over the past week or so, we're kind of taking a step back, and we're reworking quite a lot of things, and we're finishing up some features that we had to put on hold while we were dealing with this massive influx of users. But that's probably something that we will institute moving forward, is just maybe slowing that, everything is about incentivizing things or disincentivizing things with crypto, either opening up the water valve or closing the water valve. And so just kind of learning more about that. And we've developed a ton of different analytics tools to be able to track our user base and track everything that we can, just getting our hands on as much data as possible. But if we would have had a lot of that up front, it definitely would have helped. And so it's definitely part of our initial version 1 roadmap for Crypto Blades Kingdoms, of just being able to always have a bird's eye view of the whole project from an analytics standpoint, so that we can kind of make these decisions more preemptively.
Yeah, man, pioneer into the space. Someone's got to learn those lessons for everybody else. But believe me, everybody is watching everything that you're doing that is coming after you. They're looking at exactly what people love, what they don't love, what works, what doesn't work. So right. I imagine that everyone's quite thankful for you for being amongst one of the first to go out there and you have to take you have to be a bit brave and know that you're gonna get people are gonna talk. People are not gonna be happy. Everyone is never happy, right? And right. But you live, you learn, you adapt. And I love the fact that you said that you open source everything, because that's one thing that is so different about being in crypto and having the community have a chance to have ownership and everything in the entire economy that you're building. Like, they care. I'm sure people care a lot. and when you mess up, man, they do not let you get away with it. They kick your butt, man, and it keeps you on your toes. You can make a $1 billion private enterprise, and no one cares who you are. No one gives a crap who you are, right? But you launch something, and now people got skin in the game. They care, man, and they watch everything. Everything on chain is tracked. It's all transparent. Like, it is an interesting perspective, but I love it. You have your community. Look at community fans you brought in tonight. Like, it's incredible. It's so much support and love for you, and that's so. I know that the rest of the people coming after you really appreciate you stepping out and giving it your all. So
yeah.
If I can just jump in, because
please go ahead.
I think so aligned with Philip's thinking, and while we're not necessarily open sourcing everything initially, we have discussed just on today's show the concept of standardization of protocols, right? And what that really introduces is not only the ability for people to create value within, say, a virtual world, but also externally to create ancillary services surrounding that. And so, we as developers and as founders and creators no longer have the sole responsibility to develop out every single feature. And in fact, development can be expedited as a result of enabling other people to create. And let that, once again, everybody should be rewarded for whatever value they're creating for the world and for a protocol. And so, just a couple of examples, one of those things would be like decentralized insurance, which we've talked about quite a bit, just because we have a high risk gameplay mode where NFTs can be burned. And so, the reality is it might very well be necessary to insure a ship if you want to go explore deep space. So that's one thing. And then also having somebody in our channel, this is kind of a hot topic right now, but, taxes on play to earn income, right? Like, the IRS, if you're in the U.S., is going to go after every single dollar that you earn, regardless of what format or environment that comes from. And so, but at the same time, there are no systems in place today to provide any form of accounting behind what you actually make, right? And if you're leaving that up to the individual, there's no way you can have accuracy on it. It's just too complex and too complicated. Yeah. And so, somebody else can come in and be the metaverse accountant that integrates with all of the metaverses out there. But I think that that's a really cool thing is these ideas now, people have opportunities to become entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Hashoshi, there's one thing that I notice is a lot different with 2021, for example, versus 2017. Right, so 2017, we saw celebrities shilling shitcoins. Like everyone just being paid $100,000 for just pumping something crap.
Mm-hmm.
This year, we see big celebrities, incumbents starting their own projects. Right, you got Tyga, who announced MyStar to take out when OnlyFans announced that they wouldn't do adult content anymore. You got Logan Paul doing his crypto zoo that just came out. You got just like then we have people like Facebook, for example, who just announced their metaverse environment. And so, I'm wondering, like in 2017, we were the pioneers, and we were the ones who were creating and innovating and building projects. But we didn't come with a wealth of resources and an army of resources, right? We came with whatever we raised and granted, 2017 was much larger than 2021, that's for sure. For those days, raising 50 million was a low cap. Yeah, good days. So do you? I'm a little bit. It's interesting, man. We have these guys so imagine that someone like celebrity like Tyga, who has, I don't even really know who he is exactly, but I know he's famous rapper, but he's probably knows all kinds of hoes, right? And so so OnlyFans, he's probably got a bunch of people that can jump on that platform versus like someone that you or myself built something. We don't have those connections. And then you have Facebook, who already has billions of customers. They build their metaverse and boom, they're integrated. So do you think this is going to be kind of are we now at a really interesting turning point or like a pivot in the road where, it's going to be us versus incumbents who are going to, have more power and ability to come to market?
I'm sure there'll be some of that, but I think where you have, celebrities that have, a built-in following, they have maybe connections in a broader industry, what have you. I think you also then realize that they don't come from the space that we come from either. Yeah. And so they're going to need builders. They're going to need people who understand and have, sort of equity and an understanding of very different population of people with very different incentives and very different drives in this like crypto space in general, that it's going to have to be a collaborative effort. Because I think we've even seen that, just creating an NFT, it's cool, but it's not an instant win. It's not an instant success because people in this space demand more. They want a roadmap. They want experiences. They want to be part of, a social club. That's why like Bored Apes has been successful, because it built this community. And I think you don't necessarily just get that because you're a celebrity right off the bat. So it's going to need to be collaborative. Of course, there will be some friction, but I think I'm looking at it more optimistically from my perspective, at least.
Yeah, and I also think that they're right now at least doing us a favor more than they're even serving themselves, because kind of a little more background about myself. So I started Riveted Games in 2014, and so we've been doing just traditional gaming development for the past 7 years. And when things like Kickstarter really started to take off, or when Steam started allowing more developers to put games on their platform, you saw all kinds of different celebrities start to develop games or develop projects and things like that. And in some cases, they were really, really successful. And in other cases, that crossover between their existing community and the people who they thought might be interested in, for example, a game, wasn't always there. And I think that's the case right now with, for example, Facebook's users, right? They're not people who have a MetaMask wallet or who are even interested in kind of spending, an afternoon or a day that it might take to get everything kind of set up and work out the kinks if anything, they're just making more noise for this ecosystem that we're all already developing in, so that those users are actually more primed to join our projects than they are to even join, for example, Facebook's. So I think that they're probably going to have some adoption, right? And there's going to be more users coming in, but I think they're more for us. So.
Yeah,
I would just add to that I think while the incumbents do have the massive user bases and they do have all of the capital necessary to execute on this type of vision, I think where they're going to be lacking, or what's going to be an obstacle for them, is kind of the philosophical underpinnings of why they're doing what they're doing, which I think is largely misaligned with the philosophy of the blockchain space, of open source space, and wanting to ensure that there's fair value distribution to all of the stakeholders. And the motives of a traditional corporation are kind of profit maximization for the shareholders, which that's not a negative thing, but that's a philosophy, that's approach, and a business model. I think what we're seeing in the crypto community, though, is more of a, how can we ensure that it's inclusive to everybody? How can everybody participate? How can everybody get a fair chance? And again, my personal opinion is that approach, kind of a rising tide rises all ships, of if we help everybody succeed, the society at large will just be a better place. We're all going to benefit from a better society. So that's where we've transformed our thinking around our revenue models and our business models, and ensuring that players, users, they have a stake in the game. We as a company, we have a stake in the game. Our partners have a stake in the game. Everybody has essentially an opportunity to participate and an opportunity to win as a result. Yeah,
this is I talk about this a lot with people, and it's like you can add value to one. You can really add value to one ecosystem really well, but you can't add value for one project to two ecosystems really well, right? So you either have your stakeholders and shareholders and your equity for profit model that you're going to add to very well, or it's going to be your token economy, right? Your stakeholder, your participants in the ecosystem. And just an example on the whole Taiga thing, just to kind of back up everything you guys just said, is like they were talking about how OnlyFans take 20% and whatever his project's called, and just take 10%. Well, if you understood, that 10% still leaves them vulnerable for disruption, because at a decentralized version, it would be 99.5%, and the 0.5% would go back to people securing the network, stakers, anything like that, where 100% of the value is kept within that economy. He just doesn't get it, and that is where I think, I saw a lot of this in 2017, and some is happening now. But in my opinion, these people who are building half-assed decentralized projects or half-assed ecosystems, they're vulnerable. They're leaving themselves vulnerable for disruption, because someone's going to come along, create the same product that brings more value to the ecosystem, and people are going to choose that one over yours. So yeah, exactly right. Guys, we're wrapping up coming toward the end here, but I just want to kind of ask you guys. I know that Philip and Michael, you guys are balls deep in development, like hardcore. But you still talk to other people here and there. What else are you excited about? When you have to take a minute out from your metaverses and you just cruise, are you aping into random NFTs? Or are you still going into some projects that do you have friends that are building? What else? There's got to be something.
Philip, you can take the lead on this one if you'd like. I have to think on it.
Yeah, no, for me, I'm very much into kind of following what's next after this whole yield farming craze, for example. I mean, and I know a lot of people still aren't even into that, right? Who still maybe, but I think it's very interesting. I think, and one of the reasons why I think that there's still a lot of innovation to be had outside of just AMMs and things like that is because the primary struggle for cryptocurrency right now is liquidity. That's like the one thing. So, I think that anything that can kind of gamify that, and I don't mean just video games, but that can gamify that in any way, is going to be huge. And so, constantly in that world because, you know, I think that we can do a lot more with it with games. I think we can do a lot more with it with technology, and yeah, it's just a liquidity game. So you know, really, that's kind of where I'm living.
100. I agree with you. This is like when Master Ventures pivoted to a venture studio model, the very first project, long before Paid Network, and we've been building this entire time, has been a liquidity solution, kind of like build that liquidity super highway between all digital asset exchanges, centralized or decentralized, kind of the equivalent of the modern day SWIFT, if you will. And I couldn't agree with you more, man. You know, it's a pit. If I need to sell some assets, you know, and I want to do it on DEX, you can't do more than $5,000 at a time. Otherwise, you're going to get massive slippage, and it's not sustainable. So there's a lot to go. But Hashoshi, how about you, man? I know you got to go in just a minute. So like, just give me one thing that you're stoked on before you take off.
Yeah, at a high level, the two biggest things right now are interoperability, like Polkadot, Cosmos, Icon. There are tons of projects that are working on it, so it's not to leave anyone out. Just those are a few big ones. And then also wallet tech. Like when we get to a world that's interoperable, the wallets are also going to have to be kind of to what Philip said before, one where you really don't necessarily care about what chain you're using. It's just one spot where you can, you know, in a self-custodial fashion, move assets and have everything in one place. Like that's going to be when we're ready for the true mainstream, in my opinion.
Is there anyone that's building something you think that could be there, or any industry? Because I have no idea. Like every wall I've used has been clunky and not like that way at all.
I mean, I think there are like a few good examples of wallets that are still sort of isolated to certain ecosystems. Like Rainbow Wallet is unbelievable for the Ethereum world. I think their wallet is really well designed and really well optimized. There are wallets pretty much wallets in each ecosystem that are, you know, sort of, you know, standouts that really have done a really good job. So I think just trying a bunch and figuring out which one fits your personality and your style of use the best is obviously a great way to go.
Cool. Michael, do you think of anything yet?
Yeah, it took me a while. I mean, I really have had a pretty isolated focus and really immersing myself in just all things of what we're building. But maybe I'll just take a quick moment to talk a little bit about the other company that I co-founded, and that's Togs. And I do think that, like, in terms of paths to attracting users to the blockchain ecosystem, crypto.
Hashoshi, peace out, brother. Have a great day. Thanks for staying over a few minutes.
Thanks for having me.
See ya, brother. Bye-bye. Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, so I do think that just, you know, in terms of industries that are still kind of, you know, highly scrutinized and disadvantaged, cannabis is one of those in the United States, where federal illegality, but illegality, but legal at the state level. And so, you know, blockchain and crypto solutions can actually resolve a lot of those problems that people are experiencing, or those businesses are experiencing, and lack of access to things like financial services, lack of custody, and you know, lack of electronic payments. So I think that that's actually another fantastic demographic for people to pay some attention to, and I think that those will attract users to blockchain as well.
Really cool.
Awesome, man. That's sick. All right, guys, we got to wrap up. For anyone who didn't see that Easter egg, it was on the bottom of my bottle. I think Arminian 2 won that. We'll reach out, contact you, and Michael, Philip, what you guys are doing is incredible, man. I'm really happy to know both of you guys, to be involved with both of you guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. Nice meeting you, Michael.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. See ya.